His hands were rough, coated with the faint dust of work, the kind of hands that told stories before lips could even part. That afternoon, the sun hung high over the small American town where I lived, its heat pressing against my skin while the whir of his drilling machine throbbed against the silence of my backyard. I had only wanted a new borehole. A source of water. Something simple. But the moment I saw him, broad shoulders bent over his equipment, sweat tracing down the edge of his jaw, I knew this man would drill into more than the earth beneath us. "Afternoon, ma'am," he had said, voice thick, deep, carrying an energy that made my chest tighten. I answered with a smile, but inside, something dangerous was already forming. And before I go any deeper, let me pause and tell you this. If you are listening now, please, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who craves a story that drips with heat, romance, and the kind of lust that leaves you begging for more. You don't want to miss what happens next. Back to that day. The machine roared, and the ground trembled as he worked. His shirt clung to his body, soaked with sweat, every ripple of muscle drawing my eyes against my better judgment. My throat was dry, but not from the lack of water. It was him, his presence, that left me thirsty. When he finally shut off the drill, the silence wrapped around us like a thick blanket. He wiped his forehead with the back of his arm, then caught me staring. His lips curved slowly, knowingly, and in that second I realized I was in danger. Not the kind of danger that comes from machines or accidents, but the danger of wanting something I had no right to want. He stepped closer, boots heavy on the dirt. "You watching me work?" He teased, low, his eyes fixed on mine. I should have laughed it off. I should have gone inside. But instead, I whispered, "Maybe I am." And that was the first crack in the dam. Because once his drilling was done in the soil, his eyes promised he would drill deeper, into me, into places I had long hidden, places I didn't even know were craving to be touched. And I swear, as the sun dipped lower and the shadows lengthened, I already knew, I was about to be left dry, begging for more. I have to confess something, because that's the reason you're listening to me right now. My marriage wasn't broken, but it wasn't alive either. You know that kind of silence in a house where the clock sounds louder than your husband's voice? That was my reality. My husband and I had fallen into routine, wake up, work, dinner, TV, bed. No spark. No thrill. Just existing. Sometimes, he would kiss me goodnight, but even that felt like a duty, not desire. And honestly, a woman knows when she's starving for attention. When her body aches for touch. When her heart begs for fire. So when the borehole driller came into my life, this sweaty, masculine stranger who smelled of earth and effort, I was already vulnerable. Already thirsty. He didn't just drill into the ground, he drilled into a part of me that had been buried for too long. I still remember the second day he showed up for work. His shirt was open at the chest, sweat glistening on his skin. I caught myself staring longer than I should, imagining the strength of those arms pulling me close. The guilt was sharp, but the hunger was sharper. He noticed me too. The way his eyes lingered when I brought him water, the smirk that played on his lips when our fingers brushed. That invisible current between us, it was dangerous, but oh, it was intoxicating. Pause here for effect, soft tone. And hey, if you're still with me, don't forget, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe. You don't want to miss what comes next, because things were only beginning to heat up. Back to that day. I found myself waiting for him. Looking forward to hearing his voice outside, the sound of his tools, the smell of dust and sweat that clung to him. I felt alive again. Desired again, even if he hadn't touched me yet. My body was betraying me before my lips did. That night, lying beside my husband, I imagined someone else's rough hands. My pond was already dry, but in my mind, he was filling it. That thought alone made me restless, tossing in bed, biting my lip, wondering how far I would go, and how soon. His lips brushed against mine like a man who had been starved of water and finally found a fountain. I remember the way his breath burned against my skin, heavy, demanding, leaving me trembling in both fear and want. He wasn't gentle, not the kind of gentle my husband ever practiced. No, he was the kind of man who knew what he wanted and wouldn't stop until he got it. Before I go deeper, let me pause. If you're watching this right now, hit that like button, share this story with someone who dares to dream dangerously, and of course, subscribe. You don't want to miss how this dangerous, lustful journey unfolds. Now, back to the taste of that night. He had this ruggedness about him, the kind of man who smelled of sweat, dust, and raw masculinity. He worked hard all day drilling holes into the earth, and somehow that same force, that same intensity, transferred into the way he handled me. My pond had been dry for so long, untouched, neglected, forgotten. But he drilled deep, and once he struck me, there was no going back. Every thrust, every bite of his lips against mine, every hungry drag of his mouth down my neck, felt like he was pulling something from inside me that I didn't even know existed. He drained me, yes, but he also left me craving, begging, aching for more. My body wasn't satisfied even when it should have been. Instead, it betrayed me, screaming silently for another taste, another drilling, another reckless night with him. And I'll admit it, I let him. I let him take what wasn't his, and worse, I let him leave me hollow, waiting, wanting. That's why I'm here confessing, because sometimes lust doesn't heal, it wounds deeper than love ever could. So tell me, have you ever been drilled so deep by someone who wasn't yours, that you forgot the very air you were breathing? Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe if you want to hear how this borehole driller kept me thirsty, even when he claimed to fill me. The story is only getting darker, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. His touch still lingers on my skin like an invisible tattoo. Every time I close my eyes, I feel that night, the reckless drilling, the way he drained every drop of my pond until I was left empty, panting, aching, yet desperate for more. I should have walked away after that evening, but desire has a way of chaining you tighter than any promise. And before I go deeper, let me pause and remind you, if you're still listening, if my confession is pulling you in, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it. My secret stays safe in anonymity, but your support gives me courage to keep pouring out what I once buried. That week, I tried to act normal with my husband. I cooked, I cleaned, I laughed at his dull jokes. But inside, I was parched. It was as though the borehole driller had not only drained my body but my soul too. He had left me dry, yes, but thirsty, so thirsty, for his drilling again. I found myself driving past his worksite. Watching his sweaty body bend over the heavy machine, muscles flexing, veins rising like rivers under his skin. He caught me once, leaning on the wheel, staring too long. And that sly smirk, that smirk told me he knew exactly what I craved. Later that evening, he texted. Ready for another session? Or are you still too drained? God, my hands shook. I typed and erased replies, my heart pounding louder than the clock on the kitchen wall. I knew what saying yes would mean. I was about to be emptied again, left hollow, left aching. But I wanted it. No, I needed it. We met in a roadside motel off the highway. The sheets were cheap, the room smelled of cigarettes, but none of it mattered. When he pulled me against him, I melted like sugar in hot tea. His lips claimed me, hard and unrelenting, and I let myself drown. Halfway through, when he had me gasping, I thought of my husband for the briefest second, and then I thought of how alive I felt in this stranger's arms. Isn't that the cruelest part? That betrayal can sometimes taste sweeter than loyalty. He didn't stop until I was trembling, raw, spent. Again, he drained me. Again, he left me dry. And when it was over, he didn't whisper sweet nothings. He just dressed, glanced back with a wicked smile, and said, "You'll be thirsty again. I'll be waiting." And he was right. Because even as I sat there, hair tangled, body quaking, heart screaming, I knew I'd be back. So if you're still here with me, listening to this madness I call my secret life, hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Because my story isn't finished, and trust me, the drilling only goes deeper from here. I thought I would be satisfied. I thought the drilling would end, the water would stop flowing, and I would finally feel full again. But no, instead, I was left with a thirst that burned deeper than before, a craving that curled itself into my skin and refused to leave. Nights became longer. The bed beside my husband remained cold with his distant body, while my body remembered the heat of another man, the rough hands, the taste of salt and sweat, the rhythm that shook the very walls of my pond. Sometimes, when the house was quiet, I'd lie there replaying it all, touching myself with a trembling hand as if I could call him back through memory. I whispered his name under my breath, careful not to wake the man who thought he still owned all of me. But truth? I was no longer his. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, I whispered, even here, to those of you listening. Hit the like button if you've ever carried a secret thirst, one that no one could quench but the wrong person. Because that's what he became to me, wrong in every sense, yet right in the only place that mattered, inside me. He had drilled me open, deeper than I thought possible, pulled rivers of pleasure from my body until I drowned in him. But then he walked away. No warning. No closure. Just silence, and this endless ache. I see him sometimes in town. Our eyes meet, and it's like the pond in me trembles again, begging to be touched. He doesn't smile, doesn't wave. Just walks on like he never pulled my soul out through my skin. But me? I live with it. Every day. Every lonely night. The pond may look still from the outside, but inside it rages, waiting for the borehole driller who taught me that some thirsts aren't meant to be quenched. So here I am, telling you my truth. Anonymous. Hidden. Because my husband will never know. My neighbors will never suspect. But you, my listeners, you'll know the truth behind my sighs and my confessions. If you're still here with me, if you felt the heat in my words, don't forget. Like this video, share it, and subscribe for more. Because my pond is still thirsty. And my story isn't over. Sparkles fire, that's your lustful, confessional, subscriber-enhanced ending to Chapter 5, leaving her with addiction, ache, and anonymity. Do you want me to now create the full YouTube-style description with hashtags for borehole driller drained up water from my pond and left me thirst? I lay there in the silence of my own making, my body trembling, my heart caught between guilt and hunger. He had drained me, taken every drop of my secret pond, and yet somehow, I still wanted more. That's the madness of infidelity, it's never enough. The taste lingers, the ache grows, and the thirst returns like a fever I can't cure. I tell myself I should walk away, but every part of me is addicted to his touch, his kiss, his reckless drilling into places I never knew could be awakened. He left me parched, empty, craving another sip of the sin I swore I'd resist. That's why I come here, to confess, to pour out what I can't tell anyone else. Because behind closed doors, I am not just a wife. I am a woman, undone. If you felt every drop of this heat with me, if my confession kept your pulse racing, don't forget, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with someone who loves a taste of forbidden romance. There are more secrets, more lustful stories, more untold adventures of hearts that betray, yet can't stop loving. This isn't the end. It's just another beginning. My pond may be dry tonight, but tomorrow, it will flood again.